Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. Welcome back to the show, John.
Jim, it's a pleasure to be back on the show.
John, when can we expect news from NuLegacy Gold for its Rift anticline play in Nevada?
Well, Jim, we may get the results for the first 3 holes by the end of this month. On July 29th, the company, NuLegacy, put out a press release saying that it completed 7 deep holes and it has 1 rig left on the property, and it's finishing off the 8th hole to a target depth of 3,940 feet. And when I talked to Albert Matter earlier this week, he said, if nothing goes wrong, this hole should be done in 10 days. And then they're just going to suspend drilling because unlike late last year when they drilled the first 4 holes where the goal was to demonstrate that their geological model inferred from all that CSAMT geophysical data was valid, there they gave us nice descriptions of everything they were encountering. Yes, thick wind band 5, alteration, the XRF unit was kicking back high arsenic readings, and all of that was good. It confirmed, yes, this rift anticline target is real. There is serious potential for there to be a gold rush equivalent or bigger system under this pile of dreary basaltic rocks that are much younger, that obscure that whole area from previous exploration attempts. But the assay turnaround is extremely bad. This time, the market wants to see gold assays. They want to see which of these wind band 5 intervals that you've intersected that are all nicely altered and that have all the pathfinders in it, which one of them has a meaningful amount of gold, enough for you to begin vectoring in on where did the gold really pile up. And so we have maybe a couple of weeks to wait for the first 3 holes. Since all these holes are quite widely spaced and they are geochemically blind, they're based on the whole geophysical model, we may have to wait until all the results are back in and they can properly assess where the next holes should be drilled. Now, Albert estimates that they'll have $7.5 million working capital left when the assays and all the interpretation has been done for these 8 core holes that they drilled this year, and then that will be the basis for them to decide where they're going to drill the next ones. With luck, these first 3 holes have something exciting in it. You can pull that rig back and put it to work following up in the area of those initial 3 holes. But for the rest, they're going to trickle in over the next 6 to 8 weeks based on current turnaround time. Now, the other company that we're looking at waiting for assays possibly by the end of August or possibly early September is Nevada Exploration, Inc., which has the South Grass Valley project, which is 40 kilometers to the south at the southern end of Grass Valley. And their predicament is they submitted those assays in late, or the core, they finished the main core hole in late May, didn't finish all the detailed logging until late June, sent it off, and they think that maybe they'll get it by the end of the month. At this point, with the market being as sluggish as it is, it doesn't really matter. They'd love to have a discovery hole. This one they gave lots of visual descriptions for. It was in a new area. It was part of that water canyon corridor. And so it made sense to explain, here's what it looks like. Whereas in the case of the Rift anticline, we already know roughly what it looks like. It's where's the gold. In both company cases, they are projects that are begging for gold assays to signal that, yes, all this contextual geology-driven hypotheses that they've generated are indeed leading to major new Carlin-type blind discoveries in Nevada. So there's a lot of eyes watching these 2 companies to see what those initial assays will tell us. What's interesting is that if at South Grass Valley, Nevada Exploration Inc. does have something that qualifies as a discovery hole, they would want to do more staking. But Nevada, the staking is subject to the BLM fee system, and that means on August 31st you have to pay a set amount per claim, and that starts the new cycle, annual cycle. So people dropped claims on August 31st, and nobody stakes anything in August. So August is a bad time to acquire additional land. In the case of South Grass Valley, they think this is the scale of a North Carlin district equivalent. If there's gold in that first hole, then that entire 3,500 meter segment's probably going to be mineralized. They've got the second hole started 3,500 meters at the southern end, where it's in a perfect geological place for the gold to have piled up, if indeed it did pile up anywhere in the South Grass Valley alteration system. But a month ago in early July, this hole was down to 477 meters, still in gravel, but apparently, based on seismic, close to the bedrock. And then the drillers just up and quit, and the drilling company has not been able to find competent drillers who can drive these 3,000 to 4,000 foot deep holes. So they are still scrounging around, and they are probably looking very closely at Albert Matter's NuLegacy project to see, okay, where did those rigs go? Did they have competent drillers? What about this last one? Can we borrow this one for the so that we can finally get this hole going again before the assays show up and possibly disappoint us? Of course, if this first hole that they drilled this year has the goods in it, then it doesn't matter. Then the stock would crank up and big money would come in, and drilling companies would be very motivated to become the drilling partner for the company, because there would be years and years of drilling going on delineating a new district. But the staking thing is also interesting, because in the case of the NuLegacy's Red Hill project, within which the rift anticline exists, there really isn't any room to stake anything. So Albert would rather have his discovery hole sooner in August than later in early September, because everybody has already surrounded him. And this is a significant difference between NuLegacy's rift anticline play, which is about 20 or so kilometers south of the Gold Rush system, and another sort of 15 kilometers southeast of the Cortez system. It's in the backyard of world-class gold deposits, and the claims around it have been picked up by others. And in a sense, poor Albert doesn't just have to please the owners of his 800 million fully diluted shares with a discovery hole, but he has several proximity squatters nearby who are also hanging on to every news release, waiting for him to make their lives easier. In May of last year, Metalla Royalty paid $4 million US to buy a 1.5% NSR on the whole Red Hill project that NuLegacy owns, and also a 0.5% NSR on the very deep gravel pasture that Barrick owns between the Gold Rush deposit and the Red Hill Rift Anticline project of NuLegacy. And then earlier this year, Mark Bradley, who was part of the Barrick discovery team who was working for NuLegacy, he left NuLegacy and joined a brand new company called American Eagle Gold Corp, which went public, I think, on the last day of April. He joined them as Exploration VP, and this company owns the Golden Trend property, which has been around forever, and it's associated with Dave Shadrick, who used to be Wade Hodge's boss, and decades earlier when Wade was working for other companies rather than his own, pursuing his dream of finding undercover gold deposits in Nevada. And this is about 10 kilometers south of the Cortez Hill mine, and obviously that was a proximity play, but it sits on upper plate rocks, and there's been drilling done. Nothing's ever been found. But now that everybody is taking these deeper drilling holes seriously and thinking, the lower plate is underneath, if you've got the right deep-seated structures coming through there, gold will have piled up underneath that. So they got this American Eagle Gold Corp to acquire this Golden Trend project. And then just a short while in sort of late May, early June, they optioned the Garden Gate property. And this is two blocks, one to the west of Golden Trend sitting on deep gravels, and then another group to the east of Golden Trend, which sits to the north of NuLegacy's Red Hill project, and it's all covering fairly deep gravel, bedrock covered by deep basin gravel. And this property was once owned by Rye Patch Gold, Bill Howell's company. And in 2015, I was actually on a site visit when they were drilling this, and they were drilling deep through the gravel. They'd done the geophysics, and they said, here's where all this stuff comes together. And they were hoping that on trend here, they would make another Gold Rush or Cortez Hills type discovery. They never did, and Rye Patch ended up staking the Rochester Silver Mine, which the Corps had managed to let lapse, and then eventually that company merged with another company and no longer exists. But another group got hold of the Garden Gate Pass property, and they've now optioned it to American Eagle. So American Eagle, if Albert delivers a major discovery at the Rift Anticline, American Eagle Gold Corp stands to benefit the most because it has all this deep gravel covered area plus the upper plate covered area to the north and northwest of the Rift Anticline project. And so if there's any if the money is there for really deep drilling and it's justified by a major discovery at Rift Anticline, that's the little junior that would come to life and piggyback on Albert's success. But as if it isn't bad enough to have a Metalla royalty in there with a royalty on your property that doesn't yet have a major discovery, and this deep gravel covered and upper plate covered property to the north. Just this week, the former Red Hill Inlier claim that Miranda used to own, and this is the Miranda which Dennis Hicks, who is now behind Nevada Exploration Inc., was involved with in the 2000s. It had picked up this Red Hill. They called it Red Hill at the time play during the first iteration of the Cortez Hill area play, and this was in that 2003 to 2006 period. And this is also gravel covered property, and they drilled a hole that nipped some very interesting gold mineralization, had a big run on it, but they could never duplicate it with step-out drilling. NuLegacy optioned it when they took over the bigger Red Hill project from Barrick a decade later, and they couldn't duplicate it either. And then Albert tried to renegotiate the deal with Miranda's Joe Abert and Ken Cunningham, but this being a company backed by Rick Rule and who believe in tough love, they said no way, and so Albert just dropped the property. And then not too long after, Miranda decided that Nevada was too difficult. The 5-year warrants that Jabba the Warrant Hut had insisted on had expired, worthless. They rolled the stock back 10-for-1, dumped all their Nevada properties, and marched off to Colombia to use their hammers to bang on Outcrop, where you could see visible gold, and that company now survives as Outcrop Gold. Well, that property, though, went back to the original owner, and another junior, American Pacific Mining Company, with which Ken Cunningham is associated. It just leased that Inlier claim on Monday for relatively easy lease payment terms. So now the Ken Cunningham, American Pacific, it's now Warwick Smith's company. It's been leased. They've got the Madison project farmed out to Rio Tinto, but they have other properties in Nevada. Michael Gentili has recently made a significant investment in it. And, of course, Peter Grandich is now, who follows Michael Gentili around wherever he goes, is now promoting American Pacific Mining Company. So they are now also squatting right inside Albert's Rift Anticline project, not where they've got the targets that are drilling, but off in the northeastern part where the gravel is deep and where there was some snippets hit in the past. And again, if Albert hits the ball out of the park in the next 2 months as these first 8 holes from the 2021 season come in, that company would also benefit from the old-fashioned area play type mentality. And we are shooting here for big, world-class type discovery. This is not some little outcrop where you get some rich quartz-hosted gold-silver vein type of story. This is Carlin type targets that we're going for, And if this junior NuLegacy makes this big discovery, then we have a significant change happening to the way that people perceive Nevada. The same thing with Nevada Exploration Inc. They can turn that first hole of this year into a discovery hole. And this is in an area where there is no meaningful gold showing within 40 kilometers of the property. That's why nobody owns any ground around them. That's why they're very nervous that if they should get assays that show, whoa, game on, they need to go stake. They don't really want these assays to show up before August 31st because there'll be always leaks, and everybody will understand that if the South Grass Valley play delivers evidence of a major column-type system, then that entire area will end up being staked by speculators. And so we'll wait for assays for NuLegacy in the next few weeks and maybe early September for Nevada Exploration Inc. And we hope that this problem of driller shortages in Nevada resolves itself soon.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, did the Serpent project of Harfang strike gold during its winter drill program?
Well, Jim, the wording is not quite right. They did strike gold, but you need to strike significant gold in order for the market to like you these days. On July 13th, they reported the last 14 of a 27-hole program, and the market was not happy. The stock had been motoring along in the 35-40 cent range. It dropped instantly to the 25-30 range, where it is now building a new base. Now, the first batch of holes that they drilled, 13 that they reported in May or June, those ones did include some decent grade gold intervals, but a lot of those holes were drilled to the south of this sort of 6 kilometer by 2 kilometer long gold in till anomaly that is down ice from a magnetic feature that goes for 10 kilometers that they call the stew structure. This project had never been drilled before, and this winter they undertook the first program. They focused on a 1,500 by 500 meter rectangle centered on a swamp where they could not get any till value. So it was this data hole within this big apron emanating from this 10 kilometer long structure. And so they did a geophysical, an IP survey, which was supposed to indicate the disseminated sulfides, and that showed some targets to the south of the stew structure. But these ones didn't really deliver anything, and they soon realized that the IP was not helpful. It was back to let's look at these structures, sort them out. And so there was a lot more hope for the second batch of holes, and they'd reported observing visible gold in several of these holes. And while they did get half-decent results, what the market did not see is a discovery hole where you can see how it hangs together in a geological context, and you see the running room, and you can just trace this thing, and away you go, start delineating a deposit. So getting little specks of gold, little snippets of gold here and there isn't good enough, and Francois Goulet has said we have a serious nugget problem here at this project. The gold is associated with these 2 to 8 meter wide quartz veins. We need to find where cross-cutting structures intersect the main stew structure, which, based on the drilling that they have done, they resolved that into 2 closely spaced parallel structures they call the northern and southern structures. They did a LiDAR survey, which they believe has revealed to them where this intersects, and that will be for Q1 of 2022, and everything's frozen again, when hopefully we have a cold winter and not an early thaw like we did this year, and they will go back in there and test that. But they have now started or on August 20th, they plan to start a 2,500 meter drill program using a heli-portable rig. And so they are using this to test a number of the more far-flung targets, such as Moby Dick, which is to the southeast of the Stu structure, and the Mista, which was what initially led them into this area. It is a copper and gold showing. They've done about as much excavation and trenching as is possible. Now you need to drill some holes into there to understand how the geology and the mineralization behaves in the third dimension. So this will wrap up in mid-October. It isn't the kind of focused, geochemically focused drilling that we're seeing in that main Sasquatch area where they did the drilling this summer. We may get lucky. There may also be some promising news from LaSalle Exploration, which has a block onto which the Stu structure projects, and the Serpent property completely surrounds this property. LaSalle did some drilling this summer, and in fact, Harfang is getting the drill from LaSalle, which has to wait for results to see what it's going. But if they have any good news, that will also be helpful in understanding how this Stu structure behaves within this Serpent project of Harfang exploration.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, is Forum Energy Metals going to give its shareholders a summer of love?
Well, Jim, last year, the Resource Juniors had a fantastic summer of love on the back of the gold rally that the pandemic financial response generated. This year, it is the summer of unlovedness. This sector, I haven't seen a bad period like this, given how much money was available for drilling raised last year for quite some time. Last year ended a 10-year bear market, with each year getting successively worse. And we had a lot of expectations this year that we would have these cashed up juniors with targets developed and drilling go out there and start hitting the ball out of the park. But the audience just isn't out there. Nobody cares about the Resource Juniors right now, and gold got smacked down at the beginning of this week with some major selling in Asian markets that really didn't make a lot of sense. And even though gold's still in the $1,700 to $1,800 range, which is well above where it spent the 10-year bear market that plagued the juniors, the market's saying, oh, we want to see gold trending up. In fact, we fear gold going back to $1,300 is more of a reality than gold just even staying here at these levels, where a lot of projects become very interesting. Now, the other things that's plagued the juniors has been, besides COVID-related disruptions, has been weather. Earlier this year, Forum Energy had 2 programs cut short by a very early thaw up in northern Saskatchewan. One was the Janus Lake copper-silver project, where Rio Tinto was earning 80%. They only got part of their refuse drilling program done before they had to abandon the program because everything got soggy way too soon. And on the Fur Island uranium project under option to Orano, they got some drilling done, but the best targets, which were under the lake, they never got to those because the lake just never got thick enough to be safe for the sort of rig that Orano needed to test these targets. So Rio Tinto is now at work doing some sort of drilling in the refuse target area to follow up some of the intersections they got earlier this year. We're still not seeing the sort of high grades and big widths that we want to see to really show that this 50-kilometer long basin is indeed have a Udokan type potential, where we're seeing silver in the sort of 60 to 100 gram per ton range, and copper in the 0.5 to 1% range, where you can really build some tonnage and a significant resource, what the Rio Tinto is after. Again, we'll have to wait until the first half of next year for both Orano and for Rio Tinto to return with drilling that is very cost effective, because these areas, you need the land to be frozen in order to move your rigs around and drill your holes. But the Love Lake project, this is the one where we had great hopes based on last year's magnetic survey that they had done. They had generated a number of deep magnetic anomalies on the Love Lake project, which is a magmatic intrusion, the kind that hosts these massive sulfide nickel, copper, platinum group metal deposits. Boise's Bay is an analogy, and they had done all kinds of geochemistry depletion studies to show that, at surface, this stuff has undergone depletion. So when these magma chambers were sitting there deep in the earth, cooling, you were seeing the metals harvested combined with sulfur to settle into the bottoms of these chambers and into the feeder dikes and form massive sulfide deposits. Well, this winter or late spring, they did an airborne EM survey over these magnetic targets, because just because they're magnetic doesn't mean that they are necessarily sulfides. And only one of the targets really kicked the proper anomaly. That's the Corvin Lake target in the middle of the project, of the property. The western ones, the road and the Highway 905, those were deeper targets, kind of like Boise's Bay type targets, except deeper, not an ovoid sitting at surface waiting for somebody to faceplant into it. But they did not yield any conductors that suggest you want to blow your brains out drilling some deep holes. But Corvin Lake has an EM target. They'll be drilling 3 holes into that, 500 meters each, to test that. There's a couple of nearby targets, Corvin Creek and Watt Lake, where trenching and minor drilling in the past had delivered some nickel, copper, platinum group metal mineralization. The current group, Rick Mazur's group, does not think the geology was properly interpreted, so they will allocate some additional holes for those targets too, to see if they can start seeing where the zone is and if there are better grades than what was indicated in the past. But for now, if we're going to get any love out of Love Lake, it has to be this Corvin Lake drill program, which has just begun, and we'll have to see what that gives, and wait for first quarter of the new year, 2022, when everything's frozen, and work on the Janus Lake and the Fur Island uranium project can get underway again.
John, thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
I'm Jim Goddard. We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.